Welcome for the last episode of Wave On. If you're still hanging in there and you're still listening, I want to thank you. Hitting subscribe, staying along, maybe even on YouTube or Instagram, giving a like every once in a while. That's awesome. Helps keep the podcast vibe going for all the paddleboarders out there and the water world lovers in the house. This is not only the year-end review, but the year anniversary of the podcast and how we kind of kicked it all off a little over a year ago. But by the time I got some episodes going and kicked it off and got it distributed, this is where we're at. About a year ago, I was learning all the ropes of podcasting, editing, videoing, and all of it.
Yeah, this wraps up 2020. Yeah, 2021, y'all.
Yes, the first episode was in 2020.
First year in.
And first year in. Just a couple random highlights, just because Anchor gave them to me and through Spotify. They're kind of a collaboration, I guess. But Canada and Australia are the biggest countries that first chimed in listening right away as streaming. Places love the most. 29 fans listened in more than any other podcast. Woo! Maybe this is the only podcast they listen to. Yeah. I don't know. Woo. Anyways, 35 episodes. This is technically episode 46, but we're in 8 countries listening, streaming consecutively, and over 2,016 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. So usually the podcast lasts about 45 to an hour.
How'd you find all these statistics?
They rolled them out to me at the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with, like I said, it was through Spotify and Anchor FM, how they pulled the data.
That's cool.
Yeah, so just a few little tidbits. So anyway, like I said, we're keeping it rolling. I've got some highlights that I want to share. So I pulled out some clips from the very first episode, which kicks it off with Lanny and Eric, and
the machine or the Rode mixer was still fresh out of the box, getting into the whole podcasting thing.
right, and couple messages. One being for Evolve paddleboards, which is what I use for my classes and always sell in the beginning of the season. They are having a year-end sale for the holiday, and I have a code Misty100. It saves you $100 on the Evolve paddleboards, their inflatables, and the movement boards, plus free shipping.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
It's always a bonus.
Shout out to Evolve paddleboards. Like I said, I plug them because I love them.
Yeah, they've treated us pretty well.
Those boards are amazing. They hold together. If they hold together with me and Cammie using them for classes, and how much of a beating they take throughout the season, and sometimes even repeat seasons.
Sure.
So Misty 100, you can use it at the checkout. Like I said, $100 off the movement boards, the Evolve boards, and then $50 off for your it would be your free shipping, basically. And if you need help with that, you can always contact me, lunamoon@supyoga.com. Reach out to me. I can help you out either way. So what do you think of the podcast here, the year-end review?
My question is, so what, just get started right off the bat, what's the biggest thing you feel that you've learned getting into this medium?
Oh, we're diving right in.
Yeah.
So my reflection out of it, not only meeting some really awesome people, because let's face it, this was through Instagram, a lot of this,
right? And
seeing photos, that's awesome. Sometimes they would have videos, but you get them on a podcast, you really start to put together the images, what story they're telling on their feed, and bringing it together. That's one thing. Another thing is just the fact of hearing other people's story about paddleboarding. Like I said, looking at their pictures, that's one thing. Being in Michigan, not a ton of paddleboarders. If there are a lot of paddleboarders, they're all scattered around. This is, it's a big state.
Yeah, people that, there's paddleboarders, but there's ones that specifically, really take up the lifestyle and commitment to being on their board as often as possible and traveling with it. We're centralized on an inland lake here with our operation, but there's people that constantly travel around to all the different lakes in Michigan and whatnot. But big difference between just, having a paddleboard that's just part of your, water sports fleet. Then you've got the person who has it always strapped to the roof of their car or their trailer, or, that's, other than a bicycle, it's the go-to piece of transportation fun that they have to work out on and enjoy the water.
It's still a growing sport.
Yep.
I think anybody,
sure.
Actually, I just listened to a podcast episode, very avid paddlers, and they admit it as well. And he's in Maui. Mm-hmm. So that's where surfing, paddleboarding, all that originated from. So if he still thinks that it's still growing, I know then it's still growing in the Midwest, and we're just getting onto the brink of it.
Every new sport or trend or fashion trend or whatever always hits the Midwest after it's been a big deal somewhere else, especially out west.
Yeah.
I remember getting into skateboarding and not really, discovering skateboarding until the mid 80s for myself. That kind of ages myself, but it was a big thing in California where it started, really,
how many years
since
before
the end
that?
of the 60s, early 70s,
like 20, 30 years before that.
Yeah, I wasn't around then, but
sure, but yeah,
still,
so when you go to California and you tell people, like, look, we're still trying to explain what SUP even stands for.
Well, I guess it's it starts
here
with the small cottage industry, and then it blows up to this commercial success. That's what literally
the other night the lady said to me something about, but you call it, what is it? SUP? She kind of wasn't sure. Is it called SUP? And I said, well, yeah. And so true advocate or whatever would know that SUP is stand up paddle.
Yeah.
And a lot of times for short, I even catch myself calling it paddle boarding. Yeah. But technically paddle boarding is you're paddling prone, which is crazy.
Laying down flat and
it's
like you would paddle out to go
category.
surfing. You're paddling out prone, laying down flat on your stomach.
Yeah. So that's how higher level the terminology even goes, and still trying to just explain what does SUP stand for. So the first might be a little over across the map with the episodes, but talking to Cammie, and I have a clip of from Cammie as well. She we could bounce stuff back and forth with each other because she was also same like me, trying to teach people, not just go on the board and do it ourselves, but we're also teaching it. So it was nice in my as part of my reflection to learn from more like that, from more people like that. Became closer, obviously, with Cammie, and even Evolve, because Ron was on the podcast not long after Cammie. And that's another thing. Just also getting to know other people outside of the US, whether it was Canada or the UK, and that has been pretty unique as well, hearing about their other locations, other than just even though they'll say, the last girl in the UK, she said, your lakes are huge, talking about the Great Lakes.
Compared to the ponds that they unfortunately only have to really play on. That's what she was saying, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So the very first episode, I'll go back with Lanny and Eric. I think back to that one, how different it was to what really evolved. And
a lot of people's podcasts start out pretty rough in the beginning, because you're just trying to find your legs and
You just needed to get one out there.
Just to get them out there and get them under your belt. I mean, most podcasters start out with those early rough episodes, and who knows where it's going to go from there. I mean, look what it's done to some of the,
I have to give the hats off to Lanny, though, because she was the one. You have to do this. You have to go forward with this.
Yeah, she was a real big motivator for you,
Yeah.
Encouraging you to take the plunge and just do it, right?
Take the plunge. So that's exactly what I did. They, in their episode, they kind of went on about a hiatus of social media that was somewhere in between March of lockdown 2020 to fall or summer, that they both got off of social media. Eric being our friend out in Portland, studying to be a doctor, and we get him on the phone.
Yeah.
And start talking to him, and they wanted to go on and on about how liberating it was, but we had no idea what Eric had in store for us.
Yeah, he just came out of left field with a hilarious
should I play the clip?
Observation. Yeah, go ahead,
go for
clip.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird how doing something so small, because this is a weird and funny example, but it's like I got to the point over the summer where I realized that I couldn't sit on the toilet and poop without looking at Facebook.
Word.
And so now I just enjoy pooping, and I just for what it is.
Fantastic.
He's
Full release.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just beautiful.
Eric needs to be in some sort of ad campaign for unplugging. Yeah. And the tagline is going to be, I enjoy pooping again. I just enjoy pooping again.
So we had a lot of fun with that one.
That was classic.
That was actually a longer podcast episode. I did a lot of editing on that one.
Yeah, because he was it just came out of left field, because he would, like you said, he would sit, and like most people do, I mean, I'm guilty of it. You sit there, you have your phone, you just, thumb through,
oh my God,
social media, because you got, it's just time you're sitting, doing nothing other than a bodily function. And,
hey, why can't
not multitask and get some shit done?
Hey, read, look at
2.
your phone, or I can remember as a kid I had one of those little projector things that was from the zoo.
Yeah.
And so you're learning how to potty train. And and for some reason, I even remember doing this. One of the pictures looked like my cousin, and I would say, oh, that's so-and-so. And then the next one would come up, and it was like a scary gorilla every time I would turn around and throw it in the toilet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, another thing, though, is you can really get yourself immersed in looking at something, and then notice that your legs start to fall asleep because you're sitting on the toilet too long.
Sure, definitely.
You're like, oh man, yeah, this is done. I got to get up and move around.
Well, so that's a little off topic of paddleboarding.
But that was the number one.
But that was a podcast number one. Lanny the motivator, Eric being Lanny being comedian as usual, and Eric just coming right on out with it. Yeah. It was pretty funny. But I went through many episodes. Well, I should say probably 10, maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah.
In there, it started to get pretty interesting with who wanted to come on, and all of a sudden, I had bookings.
Yeah.
Lineup for who's coming on wants to
get their voice out there.
Who's coming on? So right? one of the other highlights episode, we'll go to episode 11. Was Cammie from Aqua Om in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So like I said earlier, we had kind of grown in our relationship outside of Instagram. She even was here back in the fall doing her Freedom Tour out to California. So I decided to pull the episode, though, from when she was talking about her first time paddleboarding, because those stories started to come out too. Like, okay, what was your first time paddleboarding? Where did you learn of it? What was your first board? All those things. Yeah. And she had a really interesting story. And actually, one of our neighbors that listens quite a bit was very intrigued by this story as well.
Okay.
Should I go for it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
That I had made up. And then I'd switch to the prone paddling for a little bit and then take a break. So I finally got in and just got my board up to the side. I laid down on the side of the launch, like it's pouring down rain. And I just kind of lay there like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm alive.
So wait, tell me what you use the anchor to help you. So like you paddled at one point, throw the anchor to try to get you to pull yourself in. Wow.
Yeah, I threw it all the way up because as soon as I stopped paddling, that current just pulled
How did you know to do
all
that?
the way back. What?
How did you think of that? How did you know to do that?
Survival. I think I'm one of those people that if you asked me, I would never be able to.
So she's talking about in a windy situation on her very first board.
Yeah.
I should have maybe said that before I played it, but yeah, I had never heard of that. I've of course the paddle prone, but she just happened to have an anchor. She likes to throw the anchor a lot of times and just hang out and relax. Well, I guess a storm started to happen and she's trying to get back and the wind picked up and she's in the current and she's using her anchor to throw it forward to anchor her down while she paddled to it and repeat.
Right. Yeah. So you get the momentum or make sure the progress that you're trying to make isn't lost.
Yes.
By having the anchor,
yeah,
I guess
hold you to a certain extent. Yeah,
it makes odd sense, I guess.
I thought it was a very original, very creative. So
yeah,
and very funny.
Like she said, pure survival. Do whatever it takes.
That was awesome.
But just to think of that problem solving, that was pretty cool.
Exactly. Some other things that I had learned along the way were cleanup. Lots of cleanups.
Yeah,
and
let me throw in on that.
Yeah.
Just by observing what you've been able to do, and just, I guess, with the example of paddleboarding and how much slower it is than other sports, to where you are more observant of your surroundings and your environment, and
sure.
You see things that you don't normally see or pay any attention to. So you do see all the plastic and, things that you know what, I'm just hanging out, paddling around. I could pick that up, make it a challenge, but just being really conscious of your environment again, and just wanting to take care of the place that you're doing this activity the best you can and be a steward, right? It's almost like, if I were...
It's part of the lifestyle.
Right. When I've mountain biked, right, I would see trash in the woods or something like that.
Who wants to paddle in plastic?
Yeah, who wants to paddle in plastic? Who wants to ride their bike and see garbage in the woods that could be cleaned up? It's, again, it's, being really conscious of your environment and the place that you're having fun doing your sport, and you want to be able to keep doing it and share it with other people. It would be awesome to really keep it as clean as possible. Right?
Well, I had a few environmentalists on the show, actually. But one of them really still sticks out in my Instagram feed, and that's Sup Garbage Man.
Yeah, he's
full on. Cool. Yeah. And every month he does a breakdown of even how much he has cleaned up, and he'll do visual graphics. Okay, so far year to date, I've cleaned up this much of bins, like garbage bins, and he'll do scale ratios and things like that. He takes pictures of his cleanups and has found some very extreme things. Yeah. I think yesterday it was one of those U marine throws, the buoy or the lifesaver, the U shape.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that. But I mean, he's found many other things.
He's found car parts, tires,
sure,
just all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, lately something was even with the diesel exhaust, I think tank or something, and
oh boy.
Yeah, he also tells a little bit of a story when he posts, so he keeps it pretty creative.
Yeah.
So I was very intrigued by his episode and what he had to say. I think that was like episode 13. Mm-hmm. Let's listen in.
See it firsthand, you can kind of really in person when you're on the shore. You're like, man, I wish I could come back to this spot like 5 times and maybe get half of it, you know?
Oh, right. You have to leave some of it, right?
Mm-hmm. The shoreline here is so bad. And I have on my website, there's a drop-down menu, trashy videos, kind of dumb little pun. But there's a shoreline collection, which is like a series of videos where I walk through shorelines.
So this is all on his paddleboard.
Right.
And he's talking about, leaving trash behind and having to come back or whatever. He deals with the tide where it comes in and out. And
does he have a hardboard or inflatable?
No, it's an inflatable.
It's an inflatable. Wow. So
he's got like a small, it looks like a small little square space for him to stand on because he has front and back loaded.
Right. Because he just fills it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He found a sail bag recently too. Mm-hmm. And he said that he'd been just filling that one with plastic bottles.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't imagine how much money he's been able to collect just by returnables, maybe, or if they do that
I don't know.
In DC area, I don't know.
But it is actually a little bit of a thought process with the disposal afterward, depending on what.
Yeah.
Some things he's kept. Actually, he had a funny Halloween thing this year where he put together all the stuff that he found as Halloween decorations out front.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be really creative with that because it is just garbage.
Well, yeah, some of it's pretty defined on what the item is, but you clean it up and try to make something fun out of it.
Right on.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a whole nother extreme part of the sport. That's a lifestyle. It's
that's taking trash observation that along the way to the extreme of actually dedicating yourself to picking up, a lot of it and recording it. And
sometimes I think he's gone at least 2 to 3 times a day and picked up a load.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yep. It's very cool.
Dedicated.
Very, very dedicated and awesome to have on the podcast. But, we had some funny times as well. Most was done not in person, which is great for distance because then I don't have to worry about trying to connect with somebody in the UK if I do them all in person.
Right.
But it is nice to have those in person episodes.
Sure.
Yeah, and I really didn't get to have one until our our paddleboarders unite.
Right.
Which was Meg, that's another environmentalist with Great Lakes Great Responsibility, who just happens to be in Michigan. And her segue with cleanup was the Great Lakes Basin. So trying to collect as much as 1 million pieces of trash and another data collector so you could enter in pieces of trash.
Is that over a year span?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
So I wonder we have to get a hold of her soon here
and
see what her total is.
She's been recording it. Yeah. But what's fun about that one was the fact that when Meg was able to come here, and Michael, so I'll throw in Michael's name now too, Midwest Sup, and we did a late cleanup here at Sylvan. But prior to that, I had been entering in some numbers. So for me, again, I think that, we can all say that maybe my story of paddleboarding just had evolved, but I feel like it had heightened with this podcast. Mm-hmm. Just because I have picked up trash before, but I would say this time I'm now sharing it more, talking about it more, giving the numbers to Meg's database and being just even more conscious about it, I guess. Right. And also trying to display that in front of the others that came out for classes. So, you're just being a stewardess of the sport and displaying it in front of others.
Sure.
So, there's a lot of fun things like I was kind of getting to with the some of the stuff that we talked about on the podcast. Obviously, Meg was on a podcast episode back in the early spring before they even made it here. So was Michael and Mary Beth, who are Canada, our friend across the bridge from us here in Michigan, still was through a border lockdown though, and was not able to join us. But they were my first podcast guests in person.
Yeah.
And we chimed in with Mary Beth
virtually. Guests here in the studio.
Yeah, in the studio. Wave on. But it was awesome because we connected virtually with Mary Beth. I mean, we were pretty, I guess we felt bad that she, couldn't come. Right. But I mean, it was completely out of our control. And, it was so hot here that weekend. And we were on the lake all day, a Saturday, and then we came in to podcast with Mary Beth, and it was almost like we were channeling each other because she did a little cleanup too while we were doing our lake cleanup.
Yeah.
So we even got to talk about that a little bit. I'm gonna play that part. And I might jump around just a little bit here, but this one was pretty cool. Yeah, let's listen in.
Did our adventure off with Mike losing
the
little grabbers. So then we spent maybe like 15 minutes trying to retrieve the grabbers from the lake. Yes.
I basically
classic garbage pickup move.
I basically just laid down on my board and started laughing hysterically. I could not stop laughing.
It's so stupid.
And because it was like, he was like, okay, I shouldn't have a grabber anymore.
I almost dropped like the grabber to get the grabber too. So like I almost lost two.
You almost lost two.
It was an adventure.
Yeah.
Lost the privilege of a grabber.
Exactly.
But at least he did not lose the drone.
No drone losses today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's
Nice.
a new day.
So basically, he was trying to document all the lake activity. I had taught yoga in the morning. We did the lake cleanups. More people came out, and it was just like a fun-filled day. And
right, yeah. But the point being is you shouldn't be putting trash back that you're trying to pick up.
No, it just added on to our
adding to the trash.
Well, not just that, but our time even to pick up trash. That was time we were supposed to be spending picking up.
Yeah.
And instead we were searching for a grabber. Right. And Meg had her scuba gear and was
smart
diving down. And luckily the water was clear. We could see actually.
Yeah.
But it's funny how you move. Mm-hmm. You don't think you're drifting much. It's not that windy, but we had drifted quite a bit from where we were even like burying our head down looking for these grabbers.
Yeah, I found on my, say it would have been the kind of the northeast shore of the lake is where I was with Sarah. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And I had grabbers, and I almost lost my pair.
Ooh.
It was really quick. I grabbed them, no big deal, but I was able to mostly find cans, a lot of cans and bottles. And there was their own little, each one had been there in the water in the bottom for a while, had its own little ecosystem growing on, had to dump. One of them had a fish living in it, chilling out, so I had to disturb that little ecosystem inside to get that out of the, I was able to save the fish. He went back.
Did you feel bad about that? Like,
well,
you disturbed something that took it over?
Right. I mean, but it wasn't, it's not natural. It shouldn't be that way. So that garbage has to come out, unfortunately. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, I guess, is the way I felt about it at the time. So.
No, I get it. I just feel like it's a debatable topic because there's a couple tires that are still out there, but we know it's been taken over like for a few years.
Yeah, right.
It's nothing new where you know that stuff hasn't started to live in it.
If it's covered with zebra mussels, screw it. Zebra mussels suck. They need to be out of the lake anyway because they're an invasive species. So.
But don't they clean the water a little? Don't they filter the water a little bit?
Yeah, it's weird how it all works. But yes, they've reported, out on Lake St. Clair that there's so much zebra mussel invasion that they actually, zebra mussels, they filter, they get their nutrients and whatnot, and they filter the water, and the clarity of the water does improve or has improved since that species has invaded the Great Lakes or whatnot. But they multiply and grow too fast to where they clog up. The big problem is they clog up the water intakes for the water plants, to provide water to the communities and the municipalities, and those zebra mussels just cake up and multiply and grow so fast that it becomes a nuisance. It's a real big problem. Plus, it can cause damage on the bottoms of boats.
Too much of one thing is not good.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, exactly.
Or cut feet.
Yeah, right.
If you're walking in it.
Yeah, right. Or cut yourself because they're so sharp.
Another consistent message across the board was the community-based, which something I felt always like without overthinking it, but talking to somebody different each week, the community portion was very evident with their message.
Yeah.
Sharing the sport, sharing the stoke, the vibe, the water, the love for it, just having fun, whether it was a race or you're just laying on your board and hanging out, doing yoga. I mean, all of those things. It's a very diverse sport that the message of it's for everyone, even though there's so many people that still look at me like I have 3 heads when I say, yeah, we're going paddleboarding and it's a little windy today.
Yeah.
So it's still, I guess, like I said, it's still a growing sport. So you're going to have that thing that kind of happens, you know, but
no, that's true.
But Jen from Live, Love, Sup, she was, about episode 20 or 21, her, she has her own brand of sharing the passion and love for the sport and community. I don't have the clip, but I know she had talked a lot about whether you even travel somewhere, like seek out that dominant person that's sharing paddleboarding,
sure.
Whether it's a tour or a teacher, or maybe it's maybe you found a Facebook group in Florida that gets together on Thursday night and paddles. I mean, you might be able to, if you're going there for a trip, hang out and meet new people. Yeah. She's very worldly traveler, which she ended up being from Michigan, ironically.
Yeah, not too far away from our house, which is really weird. And she lives in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah, Abu Dhabi, yeah. And they've paddled everywhere, and it was just so cool that she was here this summer, and I got to paddle with her a few times and hang out, and that was after her podcast recording. And even though they were here for like over a month, their time went by so fast. Oh, yeah. So I'm lucky enough to have gotten the few paddles with her while she was here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that was awesome. Another cool one from the UK was Jay Sup. He's another one very strong about community. Has been doing it for a really long time. He teaches, but he really just has a strong love for the sport and bringing it in front of people. So he does some pretty good or big group paddles, and where he's got somewhere out there in the UK a spot where they can paddle at Halloween and at Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they did a giant...
wow.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
Giant Halloween paddle, where he tries to top the number like every year and tries to get out more. And same at for the holidays, whether they're dressed as Santa or the Grinch or a Christmas tree.
Sure.
But he has a really cool van so a little bit of crossover too with the whole van life, camper life.
Yeah, overlanding. Living out of your
big time. Yeah, big time. And he had an awesome van when I first met him and was scoping out his Instagram, and it was bright yellow.
Nice.
Yeah.
The yellow submarine. Yeah.
That's right. So let's listen in. Do you have like a camper van?
Well, funny enough, I've just swapped my van. I've had my little yellow van. I mean, people that know me, my yellow van is apparently was the most historic thing in the UK. I've had it years, and I've just sold it onto a young skater girl, and she's over the moon for it. It's rusty, it's old, but it's this bright yellow.
So he had the bright yellow van. I don't remember which brand he had, but he switched. He got a different van.
Well,
and
that's a way to get noticed. To
yeah.
Be, have such an iconic.
Isn't that funny?
Some type of iconic vehicle in a bright color, and
I loved talking to him. I mean, I've loved everybody that comes on the podcast, but he was unique one to talk to.
Right on.
Yeah.
Really cool bloke.
Where he was talking about worrying about getting his first jab.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, that was a while back. It was like episode 23, I believe. And continued on. I mean, I took a few breaks throughout the year. Not many, actually. My first break, I think, was around July 4th, so a holiday for us.
Right.
And felt it was deserved break.
You've been pretty consistent on keeping this going and getting guests
lined
up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And at that point, at the July 4th date, the tables had turned and someone's wanting to interview me on my podcast, on my show.
Yeah.
So I took them up on the offer. I have no clips of it. I just, I'm here.
Yeah, right.
I basically just told my story of being an intern at one point is on a live radio show, which I don't talk about much, but I think that was a little bit of the charm or spark of wanting to do a podcast, being an avid story lover and listener.
Right.
And observer, and put paddleboarding to it.
Well, you kind of learned when you did that, you learned from one of the best out there in the industry. So that was kind of a cool influence to go back to and
definitely
feed your drive to want to do this. It's cool.
Because it's not what I went to school for.
No,
not at all. But I had one of the best in the industry, a live show, and it was like chaos going on behind the scenes. Like there was a computer, there was radio equipment, there was tapes, there was someone then waiting to be on an interview, a live interview. And the show was like 3. Well, at times there was 3-hour shows, and then there were shorter segments as well.
So you got a taste early on what this was all about before podcasting was a thing, really.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. Cause that was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So another cool one that I like to do, and I wasn't sure how it was going to really fit with the show, but student editions.
Okay.
Perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they always had a different message. I'm always learning from them as much as they learn from me.
Right. It's
a two-way street, and I always like to keep that communication open. And so I had a couple of those throughout the year here, but one of them more recent anyways, about episode 39, 2 ladies from the neighborhood, brand new to paddleboarding, new to the neighborhood.
Sure.
So they've got a little taste of Sylvan and of living here for a few months, and the summer vibe here at Sylvan, which is very lively. There's events, there's food trucks, just all kinds of social things going on throughout the summer, plus the lake.
Yeah.
And whether you boat or swim or paddleboard, kayak, all fish, any of that, you know.
Yeah, a lot to do.
A lot to do, and it's so awesome. But I was fortunate enough to be introduced to these 2 ladies, Lori and Jeannie. And they both have very different messages, but it was another in-person podcast recording, and just very fortunate to have them. And Jeannie, Martini Jeannie, we find out is her nickname.
Jeannie Martini.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it Jeannie Martinez?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
Right.
And and I couldn't. We find that out, which is hilarious. And then they talk about a couple other things, but talk about being interviewed on your show, but then someone doing your intro for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Let's listen in with that one.
Wave on. This is Misty Markham's podcast. Wave on.
There you go. You just did our intro. That in nature, the sandhill cranes.
Oh yeah,
I love those stupid cranes. I talk to them all the time. It's Fraser and Lilith and their 2 children.
Oh my God.
That's what I named them.
How did you name them that?
Off the show.
Don't you know about Fraser Crane?
Oh, got it. Duh.
Come on, keep up, Misty.
That wasn't really my show. I watched.
I think she's trying to say she's too young in world.
Well,
I think that's what she's saying.
Care Bear.
Care Bear.
I was still watching Care Bears.
Yeah.
This is true.
Okay.
So, a couple things. I had no idea what she was talking about with the crane.
See, you just let's just admit it. Just admit it. You didn't know what the hell she was talking about.
I did.
Once I heard, I'm like, so then I was like, oh, she didn't get it. I can't believe because I used to watch that show.
I love how she said it. And their 2 children.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, who? I mean, I know who the cranes are. On the lake. I've seen them.
Right.
I saw them in the very beginning.
You didn't get the reference, the pop culture reference.
No. I know the cranes. I saw them as little ones around Father's Day, and she's talking about seeing them around paddleboarding out in front of the lake. The Care Bear has sort of become the table mascot. He was also talked about on a couple of other episodes, and even taking him out on the board to paddle with us. Yeah, it's just a funny little what's the story with the Care Bear? I'm like, well, he's teal. He hangs out. I don't know. He's from my air. But Jeannie's intro, I thought was just very endearing.
It was good.
Super cool. And both of them have just been awesome to be around and have them around, and other than in paddleboarding. So
definitely cool.
Neighborhood peeps.
Cool new friends.
Yeah. And I mean, in that episode, there was a lot of community chat about Sylvan, sort of like I had described, with a lot of the events and things going on and all of that, and their appreciation for those things going on. So it was just a little side note of paddleboarding, I guess. But moving on, still back. Maybe let's go back to episode 36. Episode 36 in person with M and M, Mary Beth, Meg, and Michael.
Yep.
Yeah, when they came here for the lake cleanup, the paddleboard. I called it the Paddleboarders Unite. After we podcast, we went back to the lake and did a jump rope challenge and shot a bunch of photos, and it was just like having the time of our life, like the highlight of the summer.
Yeah.
Hard to pick just one, but that was a good one. That was a really big one. That'll be hard to top. But I've got another clip of that one, and it actually kind of segues back to Mary Beth's episode when she was on the podcast way back. I think she was like number 9 originally, and she always has a different hat for a different paddle, different hat, different day. That was her thing. So when we got ready to record, she shows up on video with this hat, and I had my shark hat readily and available. Let's chime in. I was gonna wear it.
You should go throw it on. Anyway, so I'm like, I always ask my parents, like, okay, so I'm gonna borrow your hats that you actually have. So I have
right next to me.
This is my dad's hat. So I wore it on Thursday, but I haven't posted that footage yet. So I was just bringing it back to them. But I'm like, this is perfect.
It looks like
unicorn
pig crossed over with a unicorn. The nose is giving me pig vibes, but definitely you can tell it's a unicorn with oh yeah.
That is a pig.
Very cute.
It's a pig with a horn.
I know, but my favorite's the tail.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
So yeah, she showed up in hat mode.
Oh, you goofy kids, tell you. Got to have a theme for every party.
That's what she claims if we go to Canada next year. Which actually, I talked to Michael today.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are we doing? And I didn't remind him, but Mary Beth says, if there's that get together, it's going to be a theme. So.
Oh, okay. So you're stuck. You got to come up with something creative.
Well, we'll come up with something, but Michael just has to conform and go with the flow.
Yeah.
Which he will, and it's all in fun. But outside of a lot of paddleboard talk, I think there was a couple other episodes we didn't talk a ton about paddleboarding. Well, one in particular I can think about, but I don't need to talk about all of them, do I?
Not necessarily.
No. I only really have one more to share.
Okay.
I don't think that we're really going to make like a whole hour here tonight. Let's, we're here before the holiday, the break.
Yeah, I'm winding down my year with my job, and it's going to be nice to take a break and finish up some home projects. And
I'm trying to finish my website.
Yep, she's got her website and working on updating and doing a bunch of new stuff and set up for next year. So it'll be a nice break.
Well, we did have Luna in I believe it was just a couple clips back. That little in the background. I don't know what to call her. She's a husky. Mm-hmm. They talk. They kind of sound like a little kid in the background, whining, crying, carrying on, pitching a fit. She's picked up throughout episodes here and there.
Yeah, she is the mascot of the brand.
She is the mascot of the brand. And I had this picture this week, and I called her little squishy face in my caption. And then one of the other neighborhood ladies chimed in, and she said, because I said, "Oh, board meeting." With squishy face, Luna, and she's like, there's the CEO and co-founder.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But one of our other endearing neighbors that live right by us and has the Malamute Snow Dog edition, we had her on the podcast, and she shared two different episodes in his shared. But this nothing to do with paddleboarding. I just love the story. And I want to play that one next. It's from Elisa and her story of owning very comical, very character-like dogs.
I had a guy ask me this morning. He's like, "Can I ask you a question? I see you walking those two dogs all the time." He's like, "Do they ever take you down?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually they have." And he's like, "Well, what happened?" I said, "One time I got knocked out. I did. I ended up getting knocked out. Remember I told you that?"
Yeah,
I
do remember.
Walking all over me. So I asked the lady that saw it, and I said, "Did they like bark and try to get help?" She's like, "No, they stepped all over you."
She's basically saying that just hurry up and get up.
Yeah.
She thought it was going to be like a Lassie moment where they would have helped her.
Right.
And instead they were just like, get up.
Come on. We're not done walking.
We're not done with our walk yet. So anyways, it's sharing the love, the passion of snow dogs.
Yeah, for sure.
That breed. I mean, Malamutes are much bigger than Luna is. She's very petite husky,
right.
but still very comical, like breeds, and
for sure.
Fun to have around. But they make so much noise when they're trying to talk and get your attention. And I'm surprised she's not in here right now, but maybe because this is a later night podcast.
That's right. She's tired laying on her double bed.
She's fed and she's sleeping.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, well, this has been fun. I don't want to keep it any longer. Those are, the highlights of about 35, 38 episodes. I mean, I'm already over that now anyways, because this is episode 46.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find it just like I have to call it out what number it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just go.
I know.
Right.
Maybe it won't matter now into this next year. I'll just be like, well, we're so many in now.
Yeah.
It's all history.
Exactly.
So I mean, I have to thank everybody a lot and sharing stories, passion, sharing on Instagram, following along, being part of this craziness where sometimes I just don't know if I'm talking into a mic and this is just rolling out into the universe somewhere.
Amongst the intranets somewhere, right?
I hope I'm entertaining enough.
You after these many, you still love doing it and having fun with it. So, and it doesn't take much to do.
I was surprised I was able to keep up with it while the summer was here.
Right. Because, the summer is the summer, and we got to take advantage as much as possible.
I was able to keep it going.
We are in Michigan.
And plus, you don't want to take away that other person on the other line, their paddleboard time, too.
Yeah, right. You see, it's a dedication of time.
I know. So anyway.
Yeah, well, here's cheers to a new year.
Cheers
to a good 2021 on this
rolling it out
front
and
of getting into podcasting.
Yes, and thanks to everyone out there in the podcast world of Wave On.
See ya, everybody. Have a happy
Peace.
New Year. Happy holidays.